Hello, guys. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time you're listening to this podcast and watching this video. I am back again on this Dev Life with another interesting guest. You actually want to listen to the end of this because it's really interesting. If you've not been listening to previous episodes, you can always go back in time and watch and listen to a lot of them. And today we have a very interesting guest. He's one of the big guys in tech in Nigeria. I met him, I think. I've been hearing of him since I was in university. If you know this app called Church Plus, he's the person who made it. And with me today, I'll leave him to introduce himself. I have with me Mr. Peter Ihesie. Over to you, boss.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I must say I like what you are doing. It's interesting to be able to just watch you grow, and the opportunity you've also giving us to be able to talk about what we do. It's a pleasure. I don't know. Actually, I think I should just introduce myself.
Yes.
All right. So, like you mentioned, my name is Peter Ihesie. Graduate of computer science and mathematics from Federal University of Technology. Most of us will call it FUTU. So I got into programming early enough. Did I say early? I got like in uni. I got into programming in uni, and I was able to grow because I interned with a lot of software development companies. It was during my internship with some of the software houses that I was able to grow. Right. So I saw the need early on to be able to guide young developers to pick up things. So after school, I founded. Well, I worked a bit. I worked in a software house. Most of us in software development in Nigeria should know Allysoft. Allysoft, they did one HR software called Exceed HR. So I was part of the team that they brought in to move Exceed to a cloud-based system. I worked there for a year before I started Complus Tech Limited, which basically, as at that time, was to just build software for businesses. So typically, we call it ISV. It's supposed to be an ISV company to build software for companies. So over the years, we've been able to develop for a lot of brands. But along the line, we just discovered that we needed to build our own products. So that's how we got into building Church Plus, which is, I mean, we like to boast about it to say it's the biggest church management solution out of Africa. Yeah. So building software in Nigeria and with a limited budget, came with its own challenges. So how do you get developers when you don't have so much money? How do you get developers to join you in your team to be able to build? Right. So it was that really led us to figuring out, okay, since we don't have enough money to pay developers as at now, can we train them so that some of them can work with us and grow with us? So that was the thinking. But while we're thinking about that, I spoke with a friend, Shegun, about it. Fortunately for us, as at that time, we were at CC Hub.
Mm-hmm.
We were at CC Hub. CC Hub, the very, very great incubation platform there. So we spoke with them about it, and considering the technology that we're building, because we're building a lot around Microsoft technology, so it was natural for us to train developers. So we reached out to CC Hub. CC Hub now reached out to Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
So when CC Hub now reached out to Microsoft, they found it very interesting. Okay, so it was called Immersion. That was even when Microsoft called it the first name. Microsoft called it Immersion 1, Immersion 2. So with us, CC Hub and Microsoft hosted the first version of Immersion, right? We did the second batch. So the first batch was interest coming. We were able to train a lot of them. And out of that lot, I was able to get, I think, two or three developers that joined the Church Plus team. They were the founding team, team. It was interesting to see them after like four, begin to dive deep down into writing enterprise solutions. So we did the second one that we got our own space and now rebranded it to Code360, which I mean people talk about us and they say, hey, if you really want to learn how to program, you should go attend that course or the program course. So that was how we now started, and it runs sometimes three times in a year, depending on how deep we are going with the students. Sometimes it runs twice a year. But that's a brief introduction about who I am.
Wow, great. Nice to meet you again, Mr. Peter. So, you run Complus Tech, which now focuses on Code 360 as a program for bringing in fresh talents and then building them to be enterprise ready. And you've been doing
Yeah.
that now for how many years now? As Code 360.
So yeah. So this should be been doing this. I've been doing it, and we've seen a large number of people pass through the program that are actively, building enterprise solutions. At the last count we were checking, we're just like, okay, can we calculate how much we've been able to enable people make? We're doing about 40 to 50 million naira in terms of salaries that we've been able to help people generate. In naira, yes, in naira, that's well, not so much of money, but to certain quarters, it's also a lot of money, considering that some of these people before they came had no clue. Didn't even understand who they are. Now some of them are doing 100, 500,000 per month, can take care of themselves, can marry, can settle down, take care of their parents. And some of them are actually abroad now, they've traveled. So it's because it's a global skill set, right? So if you look at the impact we've had sometimes we look at tap ourselves at the back and say, well, well done.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so thanks for that. So, you run this, and from the last conversation when I was back at Microsoft, you talked about this program runs for about 3 months. Yep. So, what kind of skills do you teach them from software to cloud? What does the program look like for someone who wants to come in and grow?
Okay, so I would say we are Microsoft focused because that's the technology I started with, and it was just natural for us to start with Microsoft technologies. However, it's also important to understand how to take somebody that is new and guide him through the basic steps that he needs to take before he can call himself a developer.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first thing, I mean, is important you understand the basic, which is HTML, right? So when we get fresh graduates from school or somebody that has interest, we try to get them to understand HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So we call those fundamentals. Now, what happens is that HTML, CSS pretty easy, right? So it gives them a bit of confidence if they can quickly just put up, two or three pages, be able to make it react in a certain way, make it look nice. It gives them that initial confidence to believe that they can get this thing done. Because some of them come in with like, "Oh, are you sure I can do this? Are you sure I can do this?" With little confidence about themselves and the ability to get these things done. So HTML, CSS, the foundation helps to build that confidence. So after that, we move them to JavaScript, which is some say is the language that rules the world right now. But we'll get them to the fundamentals of JavaScript because it helps them in their web applications and their website that they build. Get them to the fundamental part of HTML. So the way the program works now, once we are done with that, we we divide the class now. So we have people that come in and want to focus on front end development. We have people that come in and say, hey, I want to do full stack. I want to go deep down into core programming. And people that come in and say, I want to do mobile. I want to be able to build mobile apps using Xamarin and all of that. So at that point, we now group the people that want to do full stack and mobile app together, right? Then the other set, which is the front end sets, they're on their own. So for the first team, which is full stack and mobile, we now go into C Sharp. Right? That's the core of that particular program. We try as much as possible to ensure they understand not just the fundamentals of C Sharp. We take them a bit, intermediate, right? So we believe in doing, we believe in exercises. As you're learning, you're building small projects. That helps you to understand the concepts. So after C Sharp, we now start getting into Entity Framework, and from Entity Framework, we begin to now get into ASP.NET Core and all of that. Then for the front end people, we dive deep into JavaScript, CSS, understanding how to play. But then we now get into a couple of the frameworks, right? So that we move you to Vue.js or move you to Angular. We're also, working with some of our other partners to see how we can bring in React to it. But while we're still doing all of these things, it's one of the things that we also let them understand is that if you want to be good in programming, you should not expect somebody to sit with you every day
Mm-hmm.
and be teaching you ABC. No, that's not how it works. So you have to put in the work. Then we have people that will mentor you. So it's more like we provide you the environment and we provide you the mentorship. Because the people that are coming to teach you are developers. They are not just teachers. They are developers building projects for businesses. And some of them are building multi-million dollar projects, right? Some of them are building multi-million dollar projects. Some of them are building in the next church plus. So these are programmers that program every day, right? So they take out their time to come and sit with you, put you through things, sit with you. You ask questions, they can answer. But the bulk of the work, the students have to do it, right? So we just provide you guidance. And also provide you opportunity to interact with fellow students, and give you just the roadmap on how you have to learn. So by the time they are done with all, it's also to deploy these things somewhere and test them, right? So that's where we bring in cloud. And the cloud part, I must commend the effort that the Microsoft team did with us in terms of helping us to incorporate the cloud program into the system. We are from the one, in fact, the class before the current class, by their third, fourth month, they were already writing Azure fundamental exams, and almost all of them passed. Right. So from the beginning, cloud was part of the program. That is helping the current developers that we have, because they are, it's almost like native to them, right? They can quickly just leverage cloud tools and technologies to build and deploy their solution. So by the time they are doing their third month thereabouts, we now start getting them to a point where they pick projects. So we give them our own projects they need to do. We also allow them to come with their own projects, because some of them are very creative. And when they work on their projects, it helps them to endure the whole pressure of, because these are things they want to build. So we're helping them to arrange what it takes and the fundamentals of what they want to build, right? By the time we help them with the structuring, some of them go all out in building, right? So it's that practical angle to it that also helps them, right? Now, after that stage, the other one that really works so much for us is we try to just get them to work with us, right? Most of them will get them to work with us, and we are building projects, real life projects for businesses, right? You see them being part of the team. Is either they are writing one small module, they are making sure the thing looks all right. But being part of that team and seeing how we work, they understand not just the coding, but the whole
The
software
practical
development
application of it,
process.
yeah.
Yes, yeah, understanding the Scrum or Agile methodology, the concept of meetings in the morning, targets, deadlines, milestones, and all of that. So it helps them as well. What we don't speak so much about, but somehow ingrained in what we do is work attitude. Yeah, it's a bit different from some other training centers we've been to. It's we somehow teach you about the value of work, right? The value of excellence. In that what you do represents who you are. Like the way you put your work together tells a lot about who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we begin to teach them that because they see us do it, they see how much we value and respond to clients when we are building solutions for them. So somehow by the time they're living Code 360, they understand the value of work, right? And that's what they take out there when they go join businesses. So summary of what the program it's all about.
Wow, thanks very much for that very awesome recap. So, if you're listening to this or watching this and you feel like, yeah, I want to learn how to code, I want to learn attitude of work, these are the guys to contact. I will drop their contacts in the description of the video and also in the notes of the podcast so you can reach out to them and know more about the programs. Now, most of the folks, when maybe they don't learn with you or learn with other places and they want to, so probably they finish learning the fundamentals of coding, they're all good and all right, and they probably think, now what's next for me to do? What, say, 5 tips would you give someone who just finished learning how to code to proceed in their career to become real life software developers?
Okay, I'll give it a shot. I don't know if it's up to five, but I'll just tell you most things that I've seen work for us. Um, Number one is that you get better at things you keep doing.
Mm.
Like, they say practice makes perfect, right? And if you keep practicing to do apps, you'll be on the to do apps level, right? If all you do is that, this one is to do, you try it, that's the level you'll be at, right? You might master it, but you'll be at that level. So what you should do first is to, one, try and work with an experienced developer. It might be for paid, it might be for free, right? So try and intern with a software house, intern with an experienced developer, join the development team, whatever it is, but figure out somebody that it's already in that space that is doing more than what you're doing that might need, your assistance. So for you, it's a learning process. For him, it's an extra resources for the project he's working on. So that is fundamental for your growth, right? Because the things that you probably might not be able to read, you see the practical application of that. And that way you move quicker, right? And by the time they put you under pressure to pick up some things, you can always handle that pressure, and that's how you go. So that's my tip number one. Uh, my second tip is if that is difficult for you, if it's difficult to find somebody to intern with, if it's difficult to find a company to intern with, even if it's for free, what you can do is pick up projects, right? There are a couple of projects on YouTube, a couple of books that have got projects, a couple of projects online. Pick up a project that somebody has done or somebody is working on, right? If you go to YouTube and say, hey, invoicing application starts to finish, or just a complete application in C sharp start to finish, there are 1001 resources that you can pick, and you should not just watch it and think you understand what they are doing. You should practice with them. If they are building the application, you should build with them. If they write one code, you write the code. If they run the application, you run your own application, right? Because sometimes you watch and you think you understand what's going on. Like,
Mm-hmm.
until it's time for you to write that code, you just realize that I'm not sure. I'm not sure I got what the guy was saying. So by the time you write the code as he's writing it or as she's writing it, you begin to understand it more. And the problems that it throws at you, figuring out how to solve those problems will make you have a deeper understanding of what's the of the technology that you're building. That's very, very important. The third tip I would advise you that should be not to do. Please, at that stage, I will not advise you to take up anybody's project as a paid project. And that's what happens a whole lot in the industry. You just do the fundamentals. You go and collect project and charge and ask people to pay you money, right? And they will now give you because you don't know how to charge, you don't know how to manage your time, you don't know anything about it. You just feel you can code. Then you go collect money from some and they will give you good money. Most will give you a ridiculous amount of money, right? Because they will see that you don't know what you're doing. Then you pick up a project and you don't understand that, that sometimes people tend to run away from it because they will run and say they don't do the coding again, right? Because people are putting pressure on them. Nobody is how to do it. And they've eaten the money. The money is gone down the drain, right? So we've seen a lot of people enter trouble doing that. If you're going to pick up anybody's project as paid project, a couple of things you should do. Ensure you have a mentor that will help you because definitely you run into difficulties, right? Because that's your first time. Have a mentor that will help you put you through the process or take the project to somebody that is a guru in it, give him the money, and just let him ensure that he works with you, right, on that project. So by working with you on that project, well, you can make small money. However, it is learning that is the most important thing that you need to do. So another one is to find a team, find a group of people, right? Call it your circle of friends, circle of influence, your accountability circle, whatever name you call it. Find out people that are in that position or slightly better than you, that you can form like a group. Now, what you will be discussing, will be a lot more on, newer things and better ways of programming and doing what you're doing, right? So you can always run to each other and say, hey, I'm trying to do this and I'm having an issue, right? I'm trying to do this, I'm having an issue. Which is just like Stack Overflow, like you can always go there and research this. But when you have that circle, that are doing what you're doing, it can help you manage the stress and the frustration because it can be frustrating at times when you're trying to learn something that you're not very used to. It can be frustrating at times. But if you have a group of friends that you can bounce some of these frustrations around and say, hey, I'm trying to just connect the database. Imagine I can't just connect the database. And they're like, oh, okay, fine. I did last 4 hours, but I didn't. Oh, really? Okay. How did you do it? Just explain the fundamentals to me. Let me just understand it, right? So, having a group of friends that are in that same space will help. Then the other one is just go get a job. Just go get a job because a lot of companies also understand that it's not an easy step. It's not an easy thing to do to just learn how to program, right? They understand it. When you have the fundamentals, most of them are willing to, get you on board with that fundamentals knowledge and work with you, right? So you should start applying for jobs. Like if you understand the difference between integer and, for instance, decimal. Like what's different between an int and a decimal, or int and boolean, right? So as simple as that is, if you can differentiate the two, you understand what variables are, you can define variables, you can operate variables. There are a lot of companies that are willing to just get you on board, right? So that you can help them do the fundamentals. By the time you're doing the fundamentals so much, but when you're doing that, you're learning fast and you're learning while you have enough money to go home and buy yourself clothes, right? So yeah, so some of my tips that you should try,
Yeah.
and that will help you move into the next phase.
Yeah, so thanks very much for that. Those are exactly five, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I got
those were exactly 5 points.
I was trying. I was trying.
Yeah. So thanks very much, Mr. Peter, for coming and enlightening us young developers to get at this thing and be really good at it. So if you're listening to this podcast up until this point in time, thank you. Like, subscribe, of course, share, stay Devi and all that. But most importantly, tell your friends about these things. Tell your family members who want to learn how to code. These tips help them get better at whatever they're trying to do. It might just be 2 points you pick out of this and you make a better developer out of it. So tell your friends about this, tell your family members and stuff. So Mr. Peter, thanks once again for coming. I want to really
Yeah.
appreciate you. It's late night, we're recording this, just if you're so wondering. It's about 9 p.m. in Nigeria. Him here staying up and doing this, and it's a weekend, it's a Sunday. I'm supposed to be with my family and all that, but we're doing this all just for you. So guys, like, subscribe, or else I'm coming for you. And of course, I'll see you again in another episode of This Dev Live. Stay devy, stay jiggy, and stay safe. Bye, everyone.